All right, you guys, welcome to the Wearebe podcast. This is Shelly, your host, and I'm super grateful and honored to be introducing our special guest today. This woman is taking the world by storm. She's a positive, shining light for women in the makeup artistry world. She's a skin queen, a beauty coach, and teaches makeup artists how to grow to pro. Welcome, Akua. How you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining. I just feel really honored to have you on here. I don't know you personally, but just going through your social media and just seeing the positivity and empowerment that you put out is so inspiring. So I'm excited to get into it.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. This is actually my first podcast interview, so I'm super excited. I'm very grateful for the opportunity. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And something that I loved, I knew it was aligned when you wrote me back the email saying, I swear I manifested this. I'm like, this girl is speaking my language. So, because
Yes, I'm a big believer in like the law of attraction and all of that. So I think I really did manifest this podcast
yeah.
interview.
How did you start? How did you start to step into that? Because I don't think that most people understand how that works and the belief in that isn't, we're not really born into it, you know?
Yeah, so my mother, I would just probably say my mom is a really just a positive person overall. And for as long as I can remember, she's always been into like the law of attraction, meditation, just speaking things into existence, and just overall just wellness, mental, physical, and everything. So I'm thinking she's like rubbed off on me a little bit.
Awesome. I love that. And it's so cool that you have someone so close to you to look up to and to help you along your journey. I love that. So, I really want to kind of go into your brand and, behind the scenes and the values of your brand and what you're about. So, do you want to go into that a little bit?
Sure. So my overall brand is Aquia Robinson Artistry. That's me, of course. And just my overall brand is just about embracing who you are. My aesthetic as a makeup artist tends to be very natural. It's like a natural elevation of a woman's beauty.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say my value as a brand is just to embrace what you already have and bring it forward for the world to see. Like just very simple. I try not to get like too far out with
Yeah.
things, but it's just very simple. I just love to elevate natural beauty.
Well, that just says a lot about who you are because I think part of that message is authenticity. And so many people out there are trying to be someone they're not and trying to be like everybody else. And it's like you embrace that authentic self and you want women to step into that. And obviously, being a woman of color and being in the beauty industry and being a woman, it's like
Yes.
the odds are against you at some point in your life. Was there ever a point that you felt like that and then you had to overcome that?
Oh my gosh. So the funny thing about that and what people always, I think what makes me a little bit unique is when I tell my story, I always tell people that I grew up kind of unconventional from a lot of other women of color in the sense of I went to all African centered private schools from like kindergarten up until high school. So what that means is basically the curriculum was a little different. Like we didn't learn about like American history. We learned about African history. The clothes that we had to wear traditional African clothes every day. We couldn't, perm or relax our hair. We had to wear our hair natural. We couldn't wear nail polish, like jeans. And when I tell people that, they're like, "Oh my God, that's so weird." But as I've gotten older, and even when you're younger, I used to get teased all the time for wearing traditional African clothes. And like now, it's kind of like a trend. It's really cool. But as I got older, I started to really appreciate that experience because what it did for me is at a young age, it instilled a sense of pride in myself in my natural form as a black woman. And a lot of times now when I speak to other African American women or women of color, they have this thing where they're just now starting to embrace their skin or their natural hair. And for me, it's like my hair has been natural all my life. I've always embraced my skin. So I've never really had to deal with those things, but I am friends and I do have other family members who deal with those things. So in that part, I'm very blessed to have had the upbringing that I had because I just never had to deal with like those kind of anxiety and things that come along with living in the world that we live in and being a
Totally.
woman. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And that's so cool. Will you go into a little bit more of that? I know are you from Colombia originally, or?
I- I'm from DC. I'm born and raised in DC. Yeah.
And then your family, did they come here from somewhere else?
So
Or?
yeah, so my mom is American, but she has Ghanaian. And recently we just did the African ancestry. She has Ghanaian heritage, and we did our African ancestry recently, and it came back to Sierra Leone. So shout out to Sierra Leone. But then my father is from Jamaica, and he came here, I think, at 17. So I'm like first generation on his side, first generation born here in the U.S. So a little bit of an ethnic, background there. Um, my family always instilled education, as most foreigners do. They always instill education in you from a very young age. They want you to be better than they were, and we had the different opportunities as well from them coming from a different country than us being born here as Americans.
Mhm.
So that's a little bit about my
That's
background. I
so
don't.
cool. I can, I wasn't really aware of that, just because my parents are from here and I was born here. But the co-founder of our company, Joshua of Wearebe, he's a first generation immigrant as well. His father came over from Argentina, and so being really in close quarters with him, I've learned a lot about like the grit and the grind, and it's just like a part of you, because coming to America from another country, you have to pave your own road. You have to really
Yes.
put yourself out there and have that self learning and self awareness aspect to know that you can go after whatever you want to go after. Like if your parents came to America and made it, like that's a guiding light for you to step into all the possibilities that opened up for you.
Absolutely. And they put a lot of pressure on you too. Like more opportunities than we had. So you better go out there and get it.
I love that. Is that where you feel like your passion and drive comes from?
Oh, absolutely. And it's a little bit, and it comes from, I just like to be different as well. So even though I do have that passion and drive that comes from my family being, foreigners, it's also the passion of drive of I want to prove them wrong in a sense too, because makeup, doing makeup, you want to do what? I still have an aunt until this day. Every time that I see her, she's like, when are you going to use your degree? You still doing makeup? Like, how's that going? Like, they don't see the seriousness behind it until you get to a certain level. Now it's kind of like starting to, die down a little bit, but they believe in getting that degree, using that degree. And for me, it's like I want to do makeup. I just
Yeah.
want to do something different. So for me, the passion and drive comes from I have to prove to them that this is a real career path. This is sustainable. I'm doing it. I'm going to make you proud.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. Yeah.
That's so admirable, because I can relate to you so much. So I initially wanted to be a nurse because I've always had this like love and passion for people. Like ever since
Mhm.
I was young, I was like, no, I didn't care about anything but my friends. And eventually I did an internship at the hospital. I was like, I cannot do this hospital thing with needles. I'm like, but how do I help people? And then the mom that I was nannying for at that time, she said, why don't you be an esthetician? And I'm like, what? A what? Like, I didn't even know what that word meant. And then I went home to tell my mom, like, I'm going to be an esthetician. Like, I applied to school, and she's like, you're not going to make money. You can't do that. And like I say, all my siblings have degrees. There's doctors in my families and degrees upon degrees, and I have ADHD. And so that's what makes me good at what I do, right? Because it's like connecting with people and passion and just like that creative spirit that comes with being in this beauty industry. And so, overcoming that and kind of having that same attitude of like needing to prove myself, I can totally relate to, because it's like you can see your vision. And this goes, past even your parents. It's like anybody that sees you starting on your journey at the beginning is
Mm-hmm.
probably not like, now they're like, oh, I'm so proud of you. But they weren't saying that at the very beginning, right?
Oh, no, they weren't. What are you doing? Are you getting paid for this? Like, how long is it going to take for you to get to, like, oh my gosh, all of the things.
But
It wasn't
you're
like
making waves and you're doing amazing. So maybe you can share a little bit of your journey and where you started and what you're doing now.
Yeah, sure. So when I was in high school, I didn't want to go to college at all. I actually wanted to be a hairstylist. So you want to be a nurse. I want to be a hairstylist, still in the beauty industry. But when I graduated from high school, I was 17 years old. So my mom, my counselor was like, you need a backup plan. I don't know about hair. You need to go to college. So I applied to colleges just because that's what you do when you try to get in college. You have to apply. So I just applied to anywhere. And the one place that I really wanted to go to, I didn't get accepted right away. So I literally did not know where I was going until like that August when school was about to start, maybe like 2 weeks before. I just decided to stay here and go to a local college. And I decided to major in business at first, and then I majored in IT because I liked computers. So why not major in IT? So I did that, graduated around the whole recession time, and could not land a job to save my life. Like I was already working other jobs, getting laid off, getting hired, getting laid off just because of the economy. And the one interview that I did land, they gave us a assessment before the interview, and I failed the assessment, the math portion. So I just walked out of there in tears. I was just fed up
Hmm.
by this time. And I thought to myself, like, what can you do to make money that you like? And by that time, I was really heavy on YouTube, watching the makeup tutorials, just practicing, little stuff, trying to put on lashes, looking crazy and everything. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to try makeup. And everybody thought I was crazy because I didn't wear makeup. I had never even worn foundation up until this point. So people were like, "You want to be a makeup artist? Really? Like she has really lost it." So funny things like I didn't even tell my mom at first. I think I told my aunt first that I wanted to do makeup and I was thinking about going to school for it because the type of person that I am, excuse me, is if you show me how to do something, then I could pretty much do it. So YouTube it gave me all it could give me for that time. So I decided to enroll in a local cosmetology school here in DC called Bennett Career Institute. And it's literally like 5 blocks up the street from me. So that worked out perfectly. And I eventually told my mom, and my sister helped me pay for it. So I had support from, people, but it was still like, she's doing makeup. I cannot believe this. So I enrolled in the school. I think it was about 8 of us in the class. I was like the weakest link in the class. And I always joking, not joke, but I always tell people that I would have meltdowns like in class, go to the bathroom, cry because I just wanted to get it like right away. But now knowing that makeup is like a muscle that you have to build, it's like repetitive action and then you get better. But I was a crazy person back then, just going to the bathroom and crying. So 6 week program at that school, I just pretty much finished there and ran with it. I was telling everybody that I was a makeup artist. I was fortunate enough that my teacher had a connection with a local photographer who had his own studio. So I started to build my portfolio. And this guy was very spontaneous. I would be sitting at home sometimes and he would just call me like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm not doing anything." He's like, "You want to shoot?" Like, "Sure." So I just pick up all my stuff, head to the studio. And by me doing that, I got really good quick, like really quick. My skills started to develop and I could see a drastic difference in like months apart from each other, even working on the same person just from me practicing and doing those photo shoots all the time. And it's been a pretty decent ride so far. I've had a lot of amazing opportunities. I've gotten to assist for Black Opal campaigns, Essence magazine. I've done some stuff for Love and Hip Hop New York, Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. The most cool job that I've got, the coolest job that I've gotten so far is I was at my mentor's birthday party one year and I saw this guy there and I just thought he was cute. Like,
Mhm.
I was like, he's really cute, but something kept on telling me to talk to him, go and talk to him. And then he disappeared throughout the night. So before I left, because this was actually in New York. New York is like 4 hours away from me.
Mhm.
So I had to catch my bus back to DC. So I saw him before I left. And long story short, introduced myself. I just told him he was cute, wanted to say hi. And he slid into my DMs and was like, hey, I'm actually a makeup artist for this, off Broadway show. We're taking it to San Francisco. Like, if you're interested, let's have a conversation. So I got that job, long story short, because it's a long story. I got that job, and that was the first time that I was able to, well, someone actually flew me out to San Francisco because I'm from the East Coast. So I got
Wow.
flown out to San Francisco for a whole month, got to stay there for a month, worked on the show, got paid, and was able to see California in a sense. So that was the coolest job that I've gotten so far. And as well as I got to work on the Bad Boy reunion concert with the icons of Bad Boy. We got to work with Total. I got to work with Total, which was really cool. And now, just full circle, I decided to step into education. It's just one of those things where when people keep on asking you to do something, and it's like, maybe I should give this a try because I never saw myself as an educator like ever. And I was doing like one-on-one lessons for makeup artists on the side, but I wasn't announcing it to the world. And just one day I decided to host my first class in October of 2017. And that day is like a blur. It's really like a blur to me. I felt like I was like in a trance. Like everything was just moving so naturally. And I had so much fun that day. I'm like, this cannot be real. Like you can't be having this much fun and working. So that's when I knew, and the feedback that I got from the class as well, that like education is where I wanted to stick. So I started to do my own classes, and then the founder of Bennett Career Institute, the school that I went to, reached out to me, and he wanted me to host some classes there. That never worked out, but then he eventually reached back out again and invited me to become the makeup one-on-one instructor at that school. So that's where I am now. I'm still hosting my own classes. I have a coaching program as well, but that full circle moment of being able to teach at the school that I came out of, it's so surreal to me, and I'm having so much fun. It's like when you get to the point where you're working and you forget that you're supposed to get paid, like when the money pops up into my account, I'm like, oh yeah, I am actually like doing a job. This isn't, just for fun. So
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And like your story, girl, like I just want to acknowledge like the trust in the universe and the trust in your intuition and following that spark and that passion, because people are like, I don't know how to find my purpose. I don't know what my purpose is. They think like it's this one thing, but your purpose is you staying true to you, because by you being the best version of yourself and following what you're passionate about, doors open. Like literally, I'm listening to you talk about how you met, this guy that you thought he was cute, and then you just followed that little inkling, and next thing you know, you're in San Francisco. Like it's a freak. You're an inspiration, and this is something that I'm super passionate about that I don't talk about as much, on this podcast. And there's reasons why there's certain things that come to you that you're inspired by and that you're passionate about, and your story just speaks volumes in validating that philosophy, because I think so many people want to believe that, but they're scared. It's like the fear holds them back, or like they get too logical or linear. Like your parents are like, you need to get a degree, and my parents are like, you need to go to school, and it's like, and then what, right? And then what?
because they make you feel like that's the guarantee, is when you go to school, it's like you're guaranteed to have this whole big life open up to you, and that wasn't the case for me. So I found that when I started to follow what I wanted to do, things just became more easier. It's not a high all the time. It's definitely some lows, but when you're at the low, for me at least, it's like at least I'm doing what I love
Yeah.
at the end of the day. At least I'm still happy in a sense, when I'm at my low, as opposed to I can't work for people. Oh my gosh, I've tried like in between this time, because I'm a full time, makeup artist and educator, but I've tried in between the times to get like little jobs every now and then, and I'm like miserable. It never lasts long. I just can't work for people. So you just got to have that grind and that passion within yourself to push you forward to make things happen.
I
And
love
then
I
things
love
start
that.
to come. Like this podcast interview, that was one of the things on my list this year. It's like I want to be on somebody's podcast, and you just put it out, and then things just start to happen. It's so true.
It's so true. And I think like it's so important to recognize and remember why you started. Cause I've been an entrepreneur for years, almost 5 years, completely solo. And I know that there's times where I'm like, dang, it'd be so much easier to get a job. But then you really think about it and you're like, yeah, for what? For a minute. And then you're like, I can't take orders. I'm losing my creativity and whatever. So that's so cool that that's something that you embrace and you step into and you're taking the action. It's not just the talk, you're doing it. You're walking the walk. And I think one of the biggest things that inspires me when I look for women to collaborate with and to bring on the podcast and people that I look up to is, are they walking the walk? Because you can talk all day, but until you step into that and embrace yourself fully and trust in yourself and show the world those vulnerabilities at the same time, because that's something I love about what you just said. You're like, it's not always easy. It's not all rainbows. Like, I'm giving you the real version. That can be a vulnerable thing to say with especially being in a leadership position. But that's where you actually truly can impact people, because people are, they haven't yet found the permission themselves sometimes. And to hear that and know like it's gonna be hard, but you're gonna be happier long term.
Yeah.
And it's a journey for sure.
Yeah. Because social media definitely is a highlight reel. I don't know if a lot of people realize that. It's just a highlight reel of what's going good at the time, but you don't see the hard work and tears. I have friends that luckily I have a good support system of friends and family that could like snap me back when I start acting crazy and get down sometimes, because it is hard a lot of the times, but you only see, when things are good. So I like to keep it real with people and let them know like, no, what you're going through is normal. Like a lot of times when I talk to other makeup artists and like, well, clients aren't booking me, or I don't know why this is happening. I'm like, well, that happened to me too. And actually it still happens. So don't be too hard on yourself. I just like to keep it real and let people know that there will be ups and downs, but it's a part of the journey and you just have to trust it and just trust that you're going to get to where you want to be. Just have to go with the flow. Just never give up.
I love that. So let's talk about a couple of, practical tips that, there's makeup artists, there's hairstylists, there's all sorts of women and men and beauticians that are listening to this podcast. And is there some tips that you can give? I know one of your classes is helping people network. That's one of the biggest things is being a beautician. In order to get clients, you have to be seen. So what are some tips that people can apply today that would be really practical to their business?
So since you mentioned networking is like my thing. Networking is what I talk about all of the time, because when I first started doing makeup, I was just looking for events and classes, just to be in the same room with people who I aspired to be like. So at the time, I never really looked at it as networking. It was just like, hey, I want to be in the room with people who are popping. So what I realized in becoming an educator is like I really had to sit down and think about the things that helped me get to where I am. And like hands down, all of the opportunities that I mentioned earlier came from networking in some kind of way. Every single last one of them came from networking. And I think with the social media age, a lot of people have gotten really, really comfortable with just being on their phones or behind the screen and not showing themselves in person. But I know for a fact that when you show up in person, I know for me at least, I have more of an impact when people see me in person versus like online. Like I still haven't mastered the whole social media thing, but when people see me in person, you can really get a gauge for like my spirit and my personality and everything like that. And you just have a better way of just connecting with people. So if it's like a senior makeup artist or senior hairstylist or something that you've been watching them on Instagram and you just can't get through, they don't answer your DMs, find out where they're going to be in person, some kind of event, and just go and introduce yourself. And I think when people hear the word network and they just kind of freeze up, but it's literally just having a conversation, just like we're having a conversation right now. It's literally just having a conversation with somebody and building that relationship with them is really important. That's another thing too, networking, and then also on the flip side, building that relationship and nurturing it, because you just never know when those relationships could be leveraged for opportunities in the future. Like my mentor now, he does. His name is Morel Hollis. He does Wendy Williams makeup. But when I first met him, I assisted him at a conference that the school was having, and he liked me and said he wanted me to come and assist him one day. So I was like, okay, like I didn't know what that meant. I was like 5 months into being a makeup artist, but he said what he said. We exchanged numbers, and I just continued to follow up with him over a series of months, and then that's where he invited me to assist him on the Black Opal campaign. So I'm like, if I had given up, a lot of times when I talk about networking, people say I followed up with this person, but they never responded, and I always ask, well, how many times did you follow up? It was just that one time. I'm like, no, 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 no. You have to continue to follow up, because I can't tell you, if I had just given up one time when I followed up with him, I never would have got that opportunity. So just being human as well, networking and remembering that people are human. There's a lot of times I pick up my phone and I look at a text message. I'm like, I'm going to reply like in 2 seconds. And it's like a whole month later. And I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot to reply to this person. But networking, hands down, is like the best tip that I can give to anybody. Like, no matter what level you are in, whether you're a beginner or you're a seasoned pro, but especially for beginners, when you don't have a clientele already, you don't have peers in the industry, you just have to get out there and find them. Like, get out there, go to some events, go to places where you think these people are going to be, and just introduce yourself and be yourself. Like, nobody's telling you to show up as a totally different person. You could be shy, you could be introverted, just be yourself and shoot your shot.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. That's so true. And like, I know that earlier on my journey, when I was like less secure within myself, that does come up. Like, not that I was trying to not be myself, but I was nervous. And
Mhm.
so, like, what are some practical things? Like, let's practice. Like, hey, hey Akuya, it's Shelly. I'm a fan of yours. I've wanted to meet you. You know, what are some verbiages that people can start with? Because I think, we there's some people that are so good at makeup and so good at beauty services, but they don't know how to communicate. And
Yeah,
because part of showing up and networking is showing up in your best self. And so you're in some weird egotistical mindset that you're the best makeup artist, but you're not communicating in that same like expertise, so to
yeah.
speak, then people might not take you seriously.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I teach in my coaching program, is just teaching people how to network and how to speak to people, because that's the thing that people get hung up on. So one of the tips I always give people when they're going to events is, especially if you're introverted or shy person, is just to number one, just show up on time, because it's nothing like walking into a room full of people that are like all eyeballs on you. That's just going to make you kind of want to shrink into yourself or just walk right back out of the room. So just show up on time and but have fun. But one of the things I teach is I made like an acronym for mingle. So it breaks down into like, different tips for how to talk to people. So the first thing for the M is you want to make eye contact, because eye contact is very powerful, especially if you're in person. Make eye contact. The what is the I? The I is you want to initiate a conversation, of course, and you want to pay them. Hold up, I'm getting this mixed up. Yes, M, make eye contact, initiate conversation. N is the whole networking. So when you're initiating conversation, just pay them like a genuine compliment. So if you're going to a makeup event, you see somebody does makeup, their makeup looks very beautiful. They have a nice lipstick. Pay them a genuine compliment. That's automatically a way for people to open up to you. Is if you're paying them a compliment, then you want to network and just have at least 3 talking points that you can hit on really, really quick. One of the things that I always ask people is like, how did you find out about this event? Like, what do you do for a living? And people love to talk about themselves. So if you're asking like open-ended questions like that, then most of the time people would just start blabbing away, and you don't have to carry the conversation any further. The G is just to the G is to dang. This is so bad.
I put
I'm
you on
messing
the
up.
spot.
You did. You put me on the spot. But the G, also a great conversation. The L is for just finding a way to, because I can't remember the exact words that I put, but the L is just basically finding a way to transition from out of that conversation and to get their contact. So a lot of the times when people network, they always get people's business cards or they pass out business cards, but they never follow up. So you always want to make sure that you have that person's information. The L is for link. Yes, link to stay connected. And then the E is just to, exit the conversation. But one of the things that I always tell people is to follow up. Following up is like if you go to events, you network, or if you're going anywhere and you're meeting people, but you're not following up, then everything is for nothing. Like you just totally wasted your time. So make sure whoever has that card in their hand has the power. So it's cool that you give out your business cards, but if you're getting that person's information, then you have the power in your hand to follow up, and then the ball is in your court at that time.
I love that so much. And I think it can be really intimidating to ask people for, their information. But something that I like to do is I'm like, I'd love to stay connected. Are you on social? Are you on Instagram? Like, I love asking for people's Instagram, because when you swap Instagrams, I grab their phone, I put in my name, they put their name in mine, we're following each other. And then when you're posting, right, if it's a potential client or a potential collab, they're like, oh my gosh, you're showing up in their feed. And they're like, oh, I forgot about this person. If you forgot to follow up, they're like, oh, there she is. But the follow-up is everything. They say in sales, the fortune is in the follow-up. So
that's what I always say too. Yes.
I love it. I feel like we're like soul sisters or something.
Know,
the way we're
right?
vibing, I'm like, this is good. This is good. Okay, so I have a question for you. Who do you aspire, to, I don't want to say you're being yourself. I was going to say, who do you aspire to be like, but who do you look up to? Who are your mentors?
Oh my gosh. So hands down, first person that comes to mind is Danessa Myricks. She is an amazing makeup artist, educator, photographer. Um, One of the things that I did before I started the journey into being a makeup artist is I researched, people who were, doing big things. And she was one of the people that was recommended to me to look into. And from that moment, I was just like obsessed with her. So I actually had the opportunity to, she has her own makeup brand as well. So I had the opportunity to work with her at different trade shows in the past, and also assist her. She used to do educational DVDs, so assist her on set for those type of things, and like personal projects that she has, and just building that relationship over the years. I have her number. I can call, text her if I want to, but she's hands down like goals in my eyes. Like she could do no wrong. She's like the sweetest person in the whole world. Everybody that meets her just falls in love with her. But Danessa Myricks, hands down, is it's aspirational.
I love that. That's so good. I think it's so important for people to find others to look up to in this industry, because something that I noticed a lot is because we live pretty much we live, but we work in a superficial industry. Like there's some weird like comparison, jealousy, whatever energy that sometimes comes up when you're not, in your highest self, in your purpose, in your passion, and in your own lane. That people don't, I've heard it in the past, like don't follow anybody, but there's people that are just like you in the ways that have like the same, goals that are 10 steps ahead of you, that you could look up to and say, okay, what are they doing? How can I get better? It's not about, trying to be someone you're not, but it's so important. Mentors have been huge key components in my success in general, because I've been in other industries too, not just beauty. And so, those mentors were key people. And it's really cool to see you stepping into that, because I know that there's a lot of people, like, just going through your comments, like on your photos, like, people look up to you. You are an inspiration. You are a North Star for a lot of women and people that I'm sure that you don't even know that you are. That's the power of influence, the ripple of impact when you're putting yourself out there.
Yeah, definitely. And to be honest, is I'm still getting used to it, because I just see myself as a regular, like a regular girl, like really super regular. I don't see myself as big as a lot of people see me. So I'm still doing the work with myself to, embrace that side. It's still a part of the journey as well.
Yeah,
But
I can tell that that's how you stay humble too, though, is being the lifelong learner. Because even people that I've coached and mentored along the way, I'm always like showing up in that, like, dude, I'm a human, you're a human. We see each other, as the same, and that's where that respect comes in, and why people want to be around you. Because I know other educators, they get so on their high horse that they think they're better than other people, and it's like, like, no. Everyone has some aspect of them that you can learn from. And so if you keep that in your mind as you're educating, as you step into teaching, as you step into being a leader in this space, like, just be you, but stay humble.
Yeah, absolutely.
So another question I have is, what is your message to the world?
My message to the world. Stay woke. Like, no. What is my message to the world?
That's a good message.
It is. It's just like with the whole social media age, you just really have to do the work of finding out who you are before people tell you who you are, or who they want you to be. Just being yourself, embracing your flaws, embracing the things that make you unique, and then using that to your advantage instead of just trying to do what everybody else is doing. Just find that unique part of yourself, embrace it, nurture it, and capitalize on it, and just go out here and shine. Like, life is so precious. It's I don't want to say it's short, because it's not short for all of us. But while we're here, I just think that we should just all be trying to make an impact and just love each other. It's like it's enough room in every industry for everybody. So I'm just a big believer of just helping where I can, helping to uplift others, helping to keep others encouraged, and in turn, good things happen. So just be good, be kind to one another, like Ellen says.
Oh, I love that. It's so simple, but it's so profound. Like, that is a key concept to anybody's success if they want to, have the positivity on their side. Because I think also too, you have to boss up, but you can still show up in your higher self and be kind and compassionate and see people and see the greatness in them without, like, criticizing them or putting yourself above them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. So where did you step into that message? Because, or I know you were like, kind of, you said you got it from your mom, but like, usually you have to overcome some adversity or some obstacle to really take on that as an attribute. Because I know that even from my mentors, people that saw, the greatness in me, until one day I looked in the mirror and I'm like, why are people saying this? And I don't believe it. And really step into that. When did that happen for you? And what adversities have you had? What are some of the hardest things you've had to overcome to realize that?
Oh my gosh. I think just the journey of being an entrepreneur is amazing. I always tell people that this journey is not just about being a makeup artist, but it's also a big self-development journey as well. One second. Crazy sirens. It's a big self-development journey as well. So it's not just about makeup, but during this process, I have been really big on just trying to instill or ingest motivation every day. Also looking to people who are outside of the beauty industry for inspiration. So people like Tony Robbins or Lisa Nichols. Who's the other guy? E.T., Eric Thomas. Just looking at things like that just to stay motivated because it does become a lot when you're on social media. And people always say you shouldn't, compare yourself to others, but we're human. So of course we're going to look at other makeup artists and in our head it's like, we're on the same level. Why aren't I here yet? Or why am I here and she's here or he's there? And you just have to take a reality check sometime and just realize like this is the journey, this is your life. Like you're in this body, this is your spirit in this body, and you're on a whole different journey from this other person. So just starting to realize that and just having the positive self-talk every day. I can't really say that there have been like tragedies in my life per se that have brought me to this point, but just going through the motions of being an entrepreneur where things are good and then things are bad is like you have to learn how to cope at the lows too, not only when it's high, but you have to know how to cope with the lows as well so that you don't get stuck there and that you can continue to go on this journey that you're supposed to be on. So I can't really say it's like it's just the journey of being an entrepreneur, I guess, but nothing like terrible
That's
has
good
happened.
though. Like I totally think that being an entrepreneur, especially long term, requires you to build that grit. And I don't know if you've heard of Amanda Bucci. She's kind of an fitness influencer on Instagram, but she's been like taking the world by storm and doing amazing things. And she said, when I stepped into the space of being a leader, I put myself on the hook. When I stepped into being an entrepreneur, I signed up for the long term of it. I think there's so many people that it's a flash in the pan, like, oh, I started my business today and I closed it tomorrow because it's too hard. But what you don't realize is the moments that it's too hard, that's when you build the character. Like a lot of people want to come to this success, but they don't want to be a part of building up to that. They don't want to be a part of, putting themselves out there and being seen and being vulnerable and putting their work, like being a makeup artist. I know it's similar for me because I'm a lash artist, but putting your work out there, like this is your work, it's visible. People are walking billboards of your work, and that can be vulnerable. And some people I know are like, I'm never going to post that. Like I know people that are so good at makeup and they love it, but they're like, I will never post that because I don't want to be criticized. I don't want to be judged. It's like, that's the moments that you are, the moments you're judged, the moment you're told that like you're crazy, what are you doing? That's the moment that tells you that you're on the path because it forces you to grow yourself. Like you said, like entrepreneurship has forced me to become so much more than I even knew was possible because I'm kind of stubborn in the sense, maybe it comes back to proving yourself where I'm like, dang, like I can't quit. I'm not a quitter.
What would people think? All of the people that look up to you, look up to me, like what would they think if I quit?
Wow.
Like what kind of hope would they have? That's where I come from because it's a lot of times that I feel like quitting. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of times like what are you doing? Like are you really even the last class and event that I had a 3-day makeup boot camp. And on the first day of the boot camp, we had a networking event afterwards that turned out to be amazing. It was over 100 people there. And that was my first time doing any kind of event like that. But the weeks leading up to it, I was literally like having conversations with my boyfriend, like, who do you think you are? Like literally out loud, like, who do you think you are? You're about to do a boot camp and a networking event. Nobody, like, people really gonna come. Like, just you get into that negative self-talk sometimes, but then I have people around me, and then I also have to tell myself, like, people are coming because they believe in you. They want to support you. Like this is happening whether you want it to or not. So you gotta boss up. You gotta put your big girl drawers on and just, show up. And it turned out to be amazing. But if you don't have people around you that support you and can instill positivity in you, and if you haven't been doing the self work, like stuff like that, I could easily have, when that thought came into my head, I could have easily said, you know what, I'm just going to cancel it. Like, I'm just going to make up an excuse. Like, nobody has to know. I'm just going to cancel it. But you have to be able to push through, those things when it happens, even the
Yes.
naysayers.
Hell yeah. And because self-talk is so important. I mean, your support is everything, but everything that you create and the success that comes from you comes
Mm,
from you. And so if you're putting it out there, but your inside talk isn't in the right place and you're not catching yourself and redirecting it, yeah,
mhm.
then you will sabotage. But that's the beauty in the evolution of learning and entrepreneurship, right? Like, I found that when I recognize that I'm not feeling worthy of this, like this isn't going to succeed, like this didn't work out how I thought it was, instead of being like, I'm done, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath and then have something to direct it to. Like, I don't know if you have something to direct yours to, but I usually acknowledge that this negative thought's coming up, and then I'm like, okay, what's my affirmation? Where am I going? And like redirect it. Because like
Yeah.
we're in the deficit so much starting out because this is new to us. We've never gone through these things. We're trying to get to somewhere that we've never been. And so if
Right.
you don't have that vision to redirect your negative thoughts to, you will spiral. You will want to quit and you will burn and go down, all because of
Will.
yourself.
Yeah. It's so sad, but it's so true. 'Cause I see a lot of people start and quit. You know, you got to be built tough to be an entrepreneur. Not even just a makeup artist, just an entrepreneur. Period. You got to be built tough to withstand the storm.
Yeah. Do you have any affirmations or any things and practices that you do to keep yourself in like that positive state?
Yeah, so I do have affirmations, and what I do is I write them on little sticky notes and I post them on my wall, like I guess in the area where when I wake up is like right there for me to see. I have affirmations just about my personal life, my business, my health, that sort of thing. And I've just adopted trying to meditate. I'm still learning, but every morning when I wake up, I just take a moment to meditate. And it's so funny the things that your parents do, and you just mom is being wacky again, until you get older. So sometimes I walk in and my mom is sitting there and she's like meditating. So I just like leave her there. But I feel like I'm becoming my mother. like the older that I get, I'm like becoming more like my mom. And I love my mom, so it's not a bad thing, but definitely meditation, affirmations. I love watching motivational videos on YouTube. And I love listening to podcasts as well, like podcasts like these, interviewing different people in the industry, very positive, affirmational, just all types of different podcasts that could keep me uplifted during the day, reading as well. So a little bit
Yes.
of here and there.
Yeah. Do you ever notice the difference when you're not doing those practices in your business, in your life?
I do. I do. I noticed for a long time, well, I still do it now, but when I stopped, I noticed the difference. So what I would do as far as business, speaking of like the law of attraction and just writing things down, I used to like be really consistent with writing down my revenue goal for the month and just leaving it, like not paying, like not even working out a strategy for how I'm going to get to this number. I would just write it down every month and I would literally like hit that number like spot on or maybe like $1 over. And I thought that was just like so cool. And then, when I stopped getting out of the motion of doing that, I was like, well, like, I ain't making no money. Where's the money? But when I was like in the motion of doing that, I noticed that I was hitting my numbers like really consistently.
That's so cool. Putting it out there is so huge. I think sometimes we don't give ourselves that opportunity and the permission to really say out loud or write down what it is that we are trying to attain.
And it's like, why not? There's enough resources on this planet, in this whole world for us. So we can have anything we want as long as we know what we want. You got to know what you want first too. As long as you know what you want, and then just be consistent about asking for it, and also expressing gratitude as well when you do get things that you have asked for, and when you don't get things that you know that you, because everything is a blessing in disguise. A lot of times when we ask for opportunities and we don't get it, you might not realize, like, whoever did get that opportunity, they might be going through hell right now, or they might not even be getting paid for that opportunity. So just being grateful for the good and the bad things that happen.
Yeah, that's so true. I remember there's so many times where I thought that I wanted something and I didn't get it, or it didn't turn out the way that I thought. And then
Mhm.
the next thing that I didn't even know was part of the journey to attracting what I wanted is 10 times better, or 10
Yes.
times like more fulfilling to be a part of, and to have in my life. And it really is about letting it go, surrendering, and allowing what's meant to be in your life. Like every day I try to set intentions and say, like, put into my path what is meant for me, like help me get out of my own way, because we become our biggest roadblocks. We
Hmm.
like, go into that, because I know you're about that too.
Yeah, I forgot what it was. I posted something on Instagram before about self-sabotage. And just because even in the education space, what I had to do was I had to just have conversations with other makeup artists just to find out what their challenges were, what their pain points were, just so when I'm offering things, I'm not just like throwing stuff at the wall and hoping that it's sticking, but just actually like hitting on, what people are going through. And a lot of the times when I talk to people, I realize a lot of us self-sabotage. It's like we say that we want things, and then the actions don't add up. We're like doing the opposite, and it's like unconsciously though. It's unconscious, and I even had a little bit of self-sabotage as well, that you just have to be able to acknowledge it, and then once you acknowledge it, you're like, oh, but I didn't even realize that I was doing it. So the thing with me was, I will always say that I feel comfortable teaching X amount of people in a group setting. And I noticed that with like my programs, I was only getting, like, I would say that I wanted this big number, but I was, oop, I'm back.
Yeah. Okay. So you said I'd say that I'd want this big number. So start there.
Yeah. So I would say that I wanted this big number for my programs, but I would keep on getting like this, like smaller, not like small, but smaller than what I wanted. And that's because, like, subconsciously in my head, I'm like, I can only teach this amount of people. But once I realized it, I was like, you can actually do more. You can actually teach 20 people if you wanted to. So now that I like identified it, and I know that's what now I have to do the work behind, like, affirming and all of that good stuff, that I can go a little further. But I know that people self sabotage all the time. And a lot of people don't even believe, as far as makeup artists that I've talked to, a lot of people have told me too that they don't even see themselves as makeup artists. So I always tell them, like, well, if you don't see yourself as a makeup artist, you're telling me that you want more clients, that, you're not getting booked. But if you don't even believe that you're a makeup artist, how do you expect people to book you if you don't even believe it yourself? So just letting, I always say fear is overrated. Just letting go of the fear, letting go of the self doubt. And it's not going to happen overnight, but just starting to do the work of, changing the narrative, so to speak.
Yeah, the script that's running your life that you don't even know is like, there's so many things that I've realized through my process and my journey too, of like being worthy of my desires. And that stems from not even anything in the industry, but like childhood traumas. So, it does affect your business, your personal life, and your internal dialogue, and your stories that you tell yourself affect your business. Would you agree?
I totally 100% agree. Yep.
Yep. So it's just a journey, and you got to just keep working at yourself and be committed. And something that I've done is reaching out to people when I'm down, and don't be afraid to say like, can you give me some, positive for affirmations, or even going to people's pages or profiles or YouTube and looking and listening to uplifting and positive thoughts. They say that your diet doesn't just consist of what you eat and what you put in your body and working out, but what you listen to, what you watch, and all of that stuff.
Yeah, the people that you're around, everything.
Yeah, I love that. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to leave it open. Is there anything that's calling on your heart to speak about, to share?
Well, thank you again. Like, this was amazing. I had so much fun. Thank you again for this opportunity. I'm an open book. You can find me on Instagram at Akua Robinson. My name is Akua Robinson, Robinson. People slide into my DMs all the time asking for advice. I'm like the friendliest person in the world. My friends hate me for it. But if there's ever anything people want to ask me, feel free. I love helping people. I also have a coaching program, a 6-week coaching program called Beauty Network and Mastery, where I teach makeup artists how to strategically network to find their dream clients, and also to connect with other people in the industry. So you can find out more information about that on my Instagram as well. I have several links leading to a lot of things in my bio. And that's about it. I'm just excited. I'm still pretty fresh on this journey as well. I've been doing makeup for 6 years, educating for almost 2. So I'm just excited to have met you now, and excited for everybody who has been supporting me and just continue to support me on this journey, because I have no idea where it's leading, but I'm going along for the ride, and I'm just committed to enjoying it while I can.
I love that. Thank you so much. And your heart just speaks volumes in how you show up and how humble you are. But also, like, I can feel like there's a queen in you. Like, you are very empowered, and you're someone that even I look up to. I was looking at your profiles, and I'm like, wow, like, it's so cool connecting and having the power of social media to connect and find other women and men in this industry that are doing amazing things, and their message needs to get out there. So keep putting yourself out there. I'm super grateful that you took the time to come on this podcast. You are amazing. You're beautiful. And I can't wait to see where your journey takes you. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you, Beauty Boss Babes, for tuning in to another episode of the Wearebe podcast. If you could do us a huge favor, and please check out our platform at wearebe.co, as well as rate and review this podcast, because that really helps us reach more people and get the message out. Also, if you have any questions, please email us at team, that's TEAM, at wearebe.co, or shoot us a message on any of our social media platforms. And in case no one's told you today, you are amazing, you are beautiful, we believe in you. You can do it.